As Nigeria faces widespread protests against poor governance, President Bola Tinubu, in his address to Nigerians, firmly rejects calls to reinstate fuel subsidies despite increasing pressure. In the last 4 days, citizens have demonstrated their frustration over economic hardships and perceived government failures. His speech, intended to quell unrest and outline his administration's effort, has received mixed reactions. President Tinubu acknowledged the turmoil and expressed sorrow for lives lost during the protests.
The president's speech comes after the Nigerian police, through its force public relations officer Muyiwa Adejobi, refuted a recent report published by Amnesty International, which claims that 13 individuals have lost their lives due to the protests in Nigeria that began on the 1st of August. Now, joining us is the chairman of the Chairman Lagos State African Democratic Congress, George Ashiru. We're also joined this morning, likely by the former Consul-General of Nigeria in the United States, Ambassador Joe Keshi, OON. Good morning to you both, and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having us.
All right. Mixed reactions to Mr. President's speech. Wole Soyinka, who of course used to be was maybe still one of the president's strongest supporters, came out yesterday to condemn, the speech and, pointed out ways that it fell short. I'm going to start with Mr. Ashiru this morning. Your thoughts on the speech? Do you also believe that it fell short? And what ways do you think that speech could have been better?
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to be objective in saying that there were calls for the president to speak. I was one of those that was on your station severally to ask the president to speak. That's what a leader does. And he did speak. And so for that, we will say, well done. And to the extent that his speech may have assuaged some feelings in some quarters, again, we will say, well done. However, the content of the speech were basically political rhetoric. There were repetitions of is not having necessary impact. And so not taking away from the fact that, yes, the government will be reactively taking measures to mitigate against some of the policies they took themselves. But the fact of the matter is that the people who went on the streets are reacting to the impact of those policies and to the fact that nothing was done or is being done that they can see is mitigating it, as I have said earlier. And so what should have happened is that the president should have given an inspirational speech, and then his ministers and governors should have gone and broken it down to the people. This is the direct impact of the actions that the government is going to take to help you to overcome this, overcome that. I mean, one of the key things people are looking for is a reversal of the subsidy, in the belief that once the subsidy is reversed, then the inflation, the runaway inflation will come down. I actually don't think that can be done. You see, the allocations that the state governments and the local governments are already receiving from the so-called savings from the subsidy is what they're hoping to use to pay minimum wage and the palliatives. So there will be a political problem for the president to try and go there. But then we also have to ask ourselves, is it true that we have subsidy? Because the landing cost of PMS in this country, now that we're importing everything, is about 1,000 naira plus. And we are paying 600 on average at NNPC stations. So who's paying for that extra? So we might actually be still paying this subsidy, maybe not as much as we were doing before. So really, unfortunately, on the streets, the people are not going to feel any impact, perhaps for the nearest future, of the actions of government to try to pull back or reel back the impact of the policy announcements they made very hastily, I might say, the beginning of this administration. So to that effect, it was 1 for the president for making a speech and -2 for not giving a speech that will help the people move forward from the pains that they're suffering.
All right. I mean, that's a valid point you have there, because talking about the fuel subsidy, and if really the government is still, has completely stopped paying fuel subsidy, but we'll investigate that further. Let's bring in Ambassador now, and I'll have you react to the same question. Also looking at the image that Nigeria has painted to the international community, do you think that this speech has in any way changed whatever perception? I mean, what was the perception pre the speech and post the speech that Nigeria has sent to the international community?
Well, first, good morning, by the way. To your first question, I think Mr. George Ashiru, if I got his name correct, has said it all. Halfway through the speech, I became a little bit worried that this is not the kind of speech that should have been given at this point in time. It is still politics at its best, and it shows the lack of insensitivity. It shows the lack of understanding of the people's protest or complaint. It shows lack of compassion of the leadership. When you are in this kind of situation, what you need to do is to try and listen to the voices of your people. Try and understand what they are saying, and it's not the time to play politics. Unfortunately, we've been playing politics with this whole issue from day one. Look, the problem itself started from the very first, from day one, actually, not the day, after the election. In the euphoria of victory, the APC and the president-elect did not interrogate the nature of their victory. Instead, they were arrogant, they were not even conciliatory, they were not even prepared to mobilize the people to understand that there's election is over, that work needs to be done, and they just went ahead. If they had interrogated the nature of the victory that was given to them, they should have known that conventional wisdom in politics, and I'm a student of politics, conventional wisdom in politics dictates that if you have a narrow victory, very small victory, you don't immediately embark on a grand reform. You do it gradually, very gradual process. But they just went straight into it, and the consequence of the, pardon my language, the Cabrera attitude of the Lagos boy is what we are seeing today. Not only is it in the domestic arena, internationally also. Look at what happened to ECOWAS. Today, nobody is so sure of what ECOWAS looks like anymore. So in making such a speech, the president should have shown compassion. He should have shown that he was listening. He should have shown that he understood what the people are saying. But above all, he should have also done more explanation. For example, the people are complaining, part of the complaint that I heard from the street was that, look, even if we are paying subsidy, we also know that there's been a lot of corruption in the system. And that those responsible for the corruption who've been collecting money and trying to fix the refineries since, let me use a popular that my grandkids love when I say to them, since Adam was a boy. They've been collecting money to repair all the refineries and giving us promises that have never been met. Is it not time, even if the president has said, look, I will look into this area of subsidy and the corruption, do some concession for goodness sake.
Yeah.
Was that done? Of course, none. But on the issue of what the international community, look, many years ago, Julius Nyerere did one when the IMF started and the World Bank started getting involved with Africa, that IMF policies bring people to the streets. This gentleman died many years ago, and exactly what they said is happening. The IMF, of course, will be happy that we're implementing all these reforms and so on. But my position is that it should have been gradual, and every effort should have been made to carry the people along. And how do you do that? You should have explained to them the economy you inherited and why change is necessary.
Yeah, all right. Scary, the IMF point that you've made, because it's actually really true. Almost every country that has needed IMF support, has had almost the same reaction. It never actually helps you. It just keeps you in continuous turmoil, economic turmoil for a lifetime. George Ashiru, I'm coming back to you now. Would you say that because the president had time, they had days, they had weeks to prepare a response, maybe before the protest started, but they eventually waited 3 days after. So is this the best that the Bola Tinubu presidency could present to Nigerians after all their thinking, is this the best that they have? Or is it in some way just really trying to show you that they don't really regard the cries of Nigerian people, and so they couldn't bother themselves too much to do better?
Well, let me even lump the various tiers of government into this equation. Why is it only the president that has to speak? Yes, the policy implementation of the president's vision is what we're suffering from. But the partners in this policy design are state governors. They are the same people who will tell the president, we need this allocation, we need this allocation, you need to share this money, share this money, share this money. Now that all of that is happening, and the government has taken, this liberal approach to raising taxes on the people, and the governors are getting a higher allocation, why are the governors not also explaining what they are doing to mitigate the impact of this implementation of these policies on the people? Why are the local governments not asked to explain more what they are doing with the allocations? Because one of the problems we have is that we forget that the federal government may be taking about half of the lion's share of all the federal income, but the rest that is being shared, the people are going to be impacted directly by the inactivity of their state government. This corruption we're talking about, it's corruption from the ward level, from the corruption at the council level, corruption at the local government level, corruption at the state level, that makes it difficult that when the government even says, we will release this amount of grains, release these palliatives. We saw what happened during COVID. All these things were packed inside some parties' personal headquarters and people's personal homes. So we have a top-down approach to government which does not help. We need to forget about trickle-down. It's no longer, the way to govern. You have to think about the bottoms-up approach. And that is why the president is still speaking in a feudalistic manner, basically saying, this is it, take it the way I put it to you. Now, he has to start holding the governors responsible for saying that we saved money from subsidy. We release this amount of money to you. You should account to your people as well. You should tell them what you are doing with your money. I cannot protect you. I cannot take the bullets on your behalf. What are you about your local governments? What are they doing about healthcare? What are they doing feeding the people on the street and cleaning the street and ensuring that people are going to school? All of these things are not the responsibility of the presidency. So these are part of the things we're talking. So all of this, the three tiers of government are all collectively responsible for not taking care of the needs of the people.
Absolutely. Because we need to wrap up the conversation. Ambassador Keshi, 30 seconds, please. Quickly just chip in your last or your final thoughts on this matter.
All right. It seems that we're having challenges with the network. But we'll certainly want to have this conversation again as we need more time, and would hope that you grant us the audience when we come back to you. Thank you so much, Ambassador Joe Keshi, and thank you very much, Mr. Ashiru, for joining us. We look forward to having you both again.